Chapter 5: How to Succeed with the Power of Rational Thinking. I get the facts, I study them patiently, I apply imagination. Many of my patients were plainly disappointed when I prescribed something as simple as using their God given power of reason as a method of changing negative beliefs and behavior. To some, it seemed incredibly naive and unscientific, yet it does have one advantage: it works. And as we shall see later, it's based on sound scientific findings. There's a widely accepted fallacy that rational, logical, conscious thinking has no power over unconscious processes or mechanisms, and that to change negative beliefs or feelings or behavior, it is necessary to dig down and dredge up material from the unconscious. Their automatic mechanism is absolutely impersonal. It operates as a machine and has no will of its own. It always tries to react appropriately to your current beliefs and interpretations concerning environment. It always seeks to give you appropriate feelings and to accomplish the goals that you consciously determine upon. It works only on the data that you feed it in the form of ideas, beliefs, interpretations, or opinions. It is conscious thinking that is the control knob of your unconscious machine. It was by conscious thought, though perhaps irrational and unrealistic, that the unconscious machine developed its negative and inappropriate reaction patterns, and it is by conscious rational thought that the automatic reaction patterns can be changed. You can get positive results now. In movies and television programs, therapy is usually portrayed as a psychiatrist guiding a patient into an archaeological dig of distant childhood memories. As a result, it is a popular notion that once in therapy, you stay in therapy. I recall an executive telling me that he had many issues he would like to work on and behavior he would like to change, but that he would never agree to go to psychiatrist's office week after week, dredging up and endlessly discussing matters from his childhood. With all due respect to psychiatrists, theirs is not the only path to a healthy self-image. And to be fair, this idea of psychiatry is not accurately representative of all doctors' methods. In any case, I asked him if he would seriously like to make some changes, if he could do it without ever having to revisit his childhood. When he said yes, I talked with him about the ideas in this chapter, the use of current rational thought in concert with the imagination to modify the self-image. If you remember the formula we looked at earlier, we will simply add a precursor to it so that it becomes you as creator of your own life experiences. So rational thinking leads to first conscious mind decision, plus the second imagination communicates goal target to self-image, that's third, and that makes work order instructions to servo mechanism. In simple terms, sticking to the guided missile analogy central to psycho-cybernetics, we use deliberate, rational, conscious thought to choose the target. Then we use the imagination to communicate the target to the self-image in a manner that it will be accepted and acted upon. Now, how testing self-imposed limits with rational thinking can surprise you. Consider a very simple situation: likes and dislikes of food. I once had a friend who refused to ever eat green beans and bacon, a side dish I enjoyed immensely, often with a good steak. Many times I tried to get him to try some, but he insisted that he hated beans. Finally, I wore him down, and one evening in a restaurant where we were sharing a meal, he grudgingly agreed to taste your damned beans, as he put it, just to get you off my back. After his first bite, he murmured, He tried a second bite and a third. He said, "These are quite tasty." Some months later, when we again dined together, he ordered green beans with bacon. Now, there was some reason he believed it to be fact that he did not like the taste of green beans. I don't know the reason, and I don't know if he did either. I suppose not, since he never enunciated it. But he didn't need to ferret through his childhood experiences, holding all manner of youthful experiences up to the light, contemplating overheard adult conversations while hiding on the stairs, in order to challenge his belief and test it in his adult life, in the current moment. Admittedly, few psychological issues are as innocuous as a like or a dislike for green beans and bacon, but many ways in which you might desire to improve or to feel more at peace with yourself are actually not all that much more complex than your taste for beans either. I maintain, acknowledging that members of the psychiatric profession may differ, that most people can. I maintain, acknowledging that members of the psychiatric profession may differ, that most people can, in fact, resolve most of the self-sabotage plaguing them with psycho-cybernetics and possibly other related self-improvement modalities without in-depth analysis of all prior life events that have happened to them. It may be perfectly okay to let sleeping dogs lie. The fact that buried in the unconscious are memories of past failures along with the unpleasant and painful experiences does not mean that these meanings must be dug out, exposed, or explained, right, in order to affect personality changes. As we have pointed out earlier, all skill learning is accomplished by trial and error, by making a trial, missing the mark, consciously remembering the degree of error, and making correction on the next trial, until finally a hit or successful attempt is accomplished. The successful reaction pattern is then remembered or recalled and imitated on future trials. This is true for a man learning to pitch horseshoes, throw darts, dribble a ball, sing, drive a car, play golf, get along socially with other human beings, or any other skill. Thus, all servo mechanisms, by their very nature, contain memories of past errors, failures, painful and negative experiences. These negative experiences do not inhibit, but contribute to the learning process as long as they are used properly as negative feedback data and are seen as deviations from the positive goal desired. However, as soon as the error has been recognized as such and correction of course made, it is equally important that the error be consciously forgotten and that the successful attempt remembered and dwelt upon. These memories of past failures do no harm as long as our conscious thought and attention is focused on the positive goal to be accomplished. Therefore, it is best to let these sleeping dogs lie. Our errors, mistakes, failures, and sometimes even our humiliations were necessary steps in the learning process. However, they were meant to be means to an end, not an end in themselves. When they had served their purpose, they should be forgotten. If we consciously dwell on the error or consciously feel guilty about the error and keep berating ourselves because of it, then unwittingly we make the error or failure itself the goal that is consciously held in the imagination and memory. The unhappiest of mortals are those who insist on reliving the past over and over in their imagination, continually criticizing themselves for past mistakes, continually condemning themselves for past sins. The new term for taking control of your emotions and self-image without probing your past. Taking control of your emotions and self-image without probing your past for root causes is solution-oriented therapy. And if you are interested in a current book on this subject, I recommend Do One Thing Different by Bill O. Hanlon. The power of forgetfulness. When asked to name the most important characteristic of a truly great pass receiver in football, the great quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, Otto Graham, said, "A damned short memory." Players and coaches have explained that to me and echoed it year after year in media interviews. What is meant is that, sorry, what is meant is that the most important skill the receiver possesses is the ability to instantly forget about the catchable pass he just embarrassingly dropped so as to focus on the target, successfully catching the next one thrown in his direction. I have many times watched a football game on television, seen the field goal kicker who could kick badly and miss a short 20 or 30-yard field goal, only to return later in the game, even with the entire game on the line, and make a much longer, more difficult field goal. The kicker's ability to forget and refocus was every bit as important as his physical strength and kicking mechanisms. Continually criticizing yourself for past mistakes and errors, whether from years ago or minutes ago, does not help matters, but on the other hand tends to perpetuate the very behavior you would change. Memories of past failures can adversely affect present performance if we dwell on them and foolishly conclude, "I failed yesterday, therefore I will fail again today." However, this does not prove that the unconscious reaction patterns have any power in themselves to repeat and perpetuate themselves, or that all buried memories of failure must be eradicated before behavior can be changed. If we are victimized, it is by our conscious thinking mind and not by the unconscious. For it is with the thinking part of our personality that we draw conclusions and select the goal images that we shall concentrate on. The minute that we change our minds and stop giving power to the past with its mistakes loses its power over us. Ignore past failures and forge ahead. When a shy, timid wallflower is told in hypnosis and believes or thinks that he is a bold, self-confident orator, in his reaction patterns are changed instantly. He currently acts as he currently believes. His attention is given over completely to the positive desired goal, and no thought or consideration whatsoever is given to past failures. Dorothea Brand tells in her charming book Wake Up and Live how this one idea enabled her to become more productive and successful as a writer and to draw upon talents and abilities she never knew she had. She had been both curious and amazed after witnessing a demonstration in hypnosis. Then she happened to read one sentence written by psychologist F.M.H. Myers, which she says changed her whole life. The sentence by Myers explained that the talents and abilities displayed by hypnotic subjects were due to purgation of memory of past failures while in the hypnotic state. If this were possible under hypnosis, Dorothea Brand asked herself, if ordinary people carried around within themselves talents, abilities, powers that were held in check and not used merely because of memories of past failures, why couldn't a person in the wakeful state use these same powers by ignoring past failures and acting as if it were impossible to fail? She determined to try it. She would act on the assumption that the powers and abilities were there and that she could use them, if only she would go ahead and act as if, instead of in a tentative, half-hearted way. Within a year, her production as a writer had increased many times. So had her sales. A rather surprising result was that she discovered a talent for public speaking, became much in demand as a lecturer, and enjoyed it, whereas previously she had not only shown no talent for lecturing but disliked it intensely. With psycho-cybernetics exercises like those described in many chapters in this book, as well as even more extensive and sophisticated mental training exercises provided in my 12-week course on psycho-cybernetics, one of the things I strive for is equipping you with ways to act as if within your own imagination and to encourage your doing so repetitively and creatively.